Freddy Krueger has haunted our nightmares for 40 years, but he hasn't always looked the same. From burned up boogeyman to wisecracking monster, Freddy's face has gone through some serious transformations. Today we're diving into the makeup and design evolution of everyone's favorite dream killer, Freddy Krueger. We'll be taking a look from A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984 all the way up to A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010 reboot. This last video of the Michael Myers mask completely surpassed my expectations and I feel very grateful. Similar to that video, I'm going to be starting with what I think are the worst looks, going up all the way to my very favorite. Starting off at the very bottom of this list is A Nightmare on Elm Street 2010. You guys, I just hate this movie and I pretend like it didn't even happen. The biggest mistake of them all was trying to make a nightmare film without Robert Englund. And I get it, they were trying to reboot things, new cast, new story, new look, but this just falls so short. The makeup design was done by Bart Mixon and Andrew Clement, and their goal was to give Freddy a more realistic burn victim look, which I think was not the best idea. What makes Freddy Krueger so interesting to look at is the exaggerated expressions and almost cartoon-like appearance that he has. While this makeup design is probably accurate of what it would look like if someone truly was burned, where things start to get really messy for me is with their addition of CGI to many of the scenes and looks of Freddy throughout this film. I know for this video I'm strictly talking about Freddy's appearance, but may I just say the CGI throughout the rest of this film, like with the wall scene, it's so bad, you guys. And so is the acting and almost everything else about this story. This is nothing but a big stain in someone's drawers compared to everything else in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. That is why it is easily at the bottom of this list. Next up, we've got A Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. Now we are in at least the real Freddy films with Robert Englund, but it's easy to say that Final Nightmare is seriously the worst of Robert Englund's movies in this franchise. The quality of the makeup in this film is equally as bad as the movie itself. It's just hard to watch and something that you don't ever really want to revisit. What's so great about many of the original designs of Freddy Krueger is the texture and detail that's added to his face. I feel like in Final Nightmare, there's way too much smoothness on the face and design of Freddy's skin, and it almost makes him look like a chewed piece of bubblegum. Several of the movies in this franchise, I admit, are not the best story-wise, but at least Freddy is visually entertaining and fun to look at and has interesting jokes and humor, but this one, in all aspects, is just very rough and understandably at this low of a place on the list. Next up, we have A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. What is most shocking to me about this makeup is that artist David B. Miller, who made the makeup in Nightmare 1, came back for this film. His goal was to make a better version of Freddy Krueger from what he had done in the past, and I think that that was a big failure. He's a very talented guy, there's no doubting that, but I think what he wanted to improve ultimately made Freddy a lot less scary and a lot less effective. From what I've read, it seems like he had the feeling that he took things too far with Freddy in the first film, but him trying to undo that made Freddy a lot less intimidating. He has a lot less of that furrowed brow and angry look on his face, and I find Freddy not as terrifying in this film. Also on the topic of this movie, how can we not bring up mini Freddy Krueger in this film? I think this is one of the funniest moments in the franchise, and I can't help but laugh every time that I see it. Next up, I've got Wes Craven's New Nightmare on this list, which I know might be an unpopular opinion, and I know it's hard to compare this Freddy to the other ones because it's more of a meta take about what Freddy Krueger could be or would look like in real life. My biggest problem with this look is that Freddy has much less of a burned look, which I find very effective and scary in these other films, and he looks more like something that you would see out of an anatomy textbook. It's just very muscular and smooth and not very interesting to look at in comparison to some of the other looks of him throughout the franchise. What's so fun about Freddy in a lot of these original films is that his look ultimately was very exaggerated and inspired by the texture of pepperoni pizza. This one is almost too smooth and looks like marbling on a very fine Wagyu steak, which I don't know. I think it looks less cool. Yes, he does have a very scary and almost demonic kind of look in this movie, but I just don't think that this take hangs with the best of the best when it comes to Freddy's looks. Next, we have Freddy versus Jason, and I think that we've finally reached the level of Freddy Krueger looks that I think are just the absolute best. The thing that I love about this look is that it's ultimately a pretty solid return to the original. It had been over 10 years since anybody had seen Freddy Krueger on the big screen, and that last look was New Nightmare, so we hadn't seen a true Freddy Krueger in over a decade. I just love the fact that they really returned to the roots of what Freddy Krueger looked like, while also throwing in some new fun looks with this demon Freddy Krueger that we see later in the film. I know I could include that maybe as a separate look for Freddy Krueger, but I'm just gonna include it with this one here. Very high compliments to that look, and the overall look and style of Freddy in this film is just a very big standout in a film that has divided a lot of people. I'm a big fan of it, and this look of Freddy is very high up there for me. Next up, we have A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. And for many people, I know that this is like peak Freddy Krueger. He hadn't gone too goofy yet, he was still scary, but we started to see more of the funny one-liners and humor that people love about this guy. Performance aside, looking at this makeup, it is a very classic version of Freddy Krueger that we all know and love. The makeup was done by Kevin Yeager, who did the makeup on Nightmare 2, which we'll talk about shortly, but it was a very different approach to what he had done in the previous film. His goal ultimately was to make the makeup process a lot smoother and easier for Robert Englund, so while the look was a little bit simplified, I still think it's very effective, clean, and has a very fun, detailed look. Next up, we have A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. And you guys, this look is so close to what he looked like in Dream Warriors that there's probably not that much that I need to really say about it. The only small differences that I see with this one is some of the sores on Freddy's face look a little bit smoother. The details are just a little bit cleaner, maybe a little bit more professional, but it's so dang close that these two are basically a tie. The makeup was still done by Kevin Yeager, and there's really not too much that I have to say about this look. All I will say though is Nightmare 4 is an extremely underrated film in this franchise and ultimately has some of my favorite special effects throughout this franchise. Coming in at the number 2 spot on this list, you guys, is A Nightmare on Elm Street 1. The makeup was done by David B. Miller, which without, we would not have this iconic Freddy Krueger look that we all know and love. While making his design for Freddy Krueger, he took inspiration from pepperoni pizza and really emulated that within the design and texture of the skin on Freddy's face, which I think is just the funnest fact, and that's all I can think of now whenever I see a slice of pizza. Makeup application took roughly 4 hours every single day, and the movie was only shot in 30 days, which is relatively quick, but sitting in a makeup chair for 4 hours a day for a month straight just sounds like a miserable experience. The thing I love so much about this film is the way that, yes, the makeup looks, but also the way that they keep it hidden in the shadows. Sometimes when we see too much of something, anything scary really for that matter, in the light, it makes it more human, it makes it less scary. But this great makeup design by David Miller and the way that they keep Freddy lurking in the shadows and not revealing too much of him is really just terrifying and a very genius move. Now it's time for the number 1 spot. Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. This is absolutely Freddy Krueger at his scariest. I know some people don't love this movie and they feel like it maybe breaks some of the rules or logic that was established in the first film, but this is probably my favorite entry in the entire franchise. A large part of that for me has to do with how interesting Freddy Krueger looks in this movie. Kevin Yeager came in and wanted to give him more of a witch-like appearance with more sunken-in eyes, a hooked nose, and very sharp cheekbones. And how can we not mention the red eyes that Freddy has in this movie? Freddy Krueger is a dream demon, and this look to me captures that the best out of any of the other designs in this franchise. I do love the Joker that Freddy becomes over time in this series, but there's something really unique to me about this more demonic, witch-like appearance that Freddy has in this movie. It's just unforgettable, threatening, and the scariest one we've ever seen. That does it, you guys. That is my official ranking of Freddy's looks throughout the Nightmare franchise. I would love to hear yours, your favorite or least favorite Freddy Krueger looks in these movies. Thank you so much for watching, commenting, supporting. It means the world. Until next time, I will see you in the next video.